Hello and welcome to the Lee Schools TV's podcast for August. I'm Rob Spicker, Assistant Director in the Communications Department. The 2024-25 school year is upon us, and that means we're back to keep you up to date on what's going to be happening in the school district this year. Back to school is our focus, and our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Jennifer Cupid-McCoy, is going to be our guest. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Spicker. It's a pleasure to be here.
So just give us an idea, Deputy Superintendent, what that role means, and a little bit about your background. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, the role is one that is, quite frankly, multifaceted. Over the past 2 years, it's been more from a transformational lens as it relates to the academic side of the house. However, my role is now expanding to where I'm having the ability to tap into the other divisions within the district. So it's a more global perspective, and that's interesting and fascinating new work. In terms of me as an individual, I have been in public education. This is the beginning of my 35th year. I've had the opportunity to work in 4 different states and 4 different systems, all of which have been large. So it's sort of my wheelhouse, if you will, and I've just truly been an educator at heart. I've had the privilege of working literally K-12, so elementary, middle, and high school as a teacher and as an administrator.
Well, we're glad you're here and glad you're helping us with the school district of Lee County and helping our families and our kids. So as we think about back to school, let's talk to our students and their parents. And what would you say just to them to get ready and be ready for another school year?
So I look at the beginning of school as really an opportunity to reset. And if I could think of 2 points, I would say the first one would be for our students and parents is accountability to self. So as a student, come into the new school year with the mindset of I am in charge of my learning and I am going to take the steps that are necessary for me to be successful. As a parent, how do you support that? Working collaboratively with your teachers, with school administrators, so that there is that sense of a support system for students. The second point I would say is for students to really find and use their voice in a very positive manner, because you have more to say than you sometimes share. And we want to be open and to be responsive to your needs.
Now for our teachers, our support personnel, the employees who are on their way back to work, what's your message to them to be ready and get ready?
Oh, wow. So first of all, I hope you took some time over the summer to relax for those people who are returning. But honestly, just knowing that we truly could not do this work without you. So it's more than a value statement, it's an actual fact. So if I were to say, what would I do as a teacher my first day back? I think I'd want to reflect on last year and what are those things that I found success with and build upon those. Sometimes we attempt to do a whole lot. So let's try to narrow the focus and become really good at what we do. If you're joining us for the first time as part of Team Lee, all of the emotions that you're feeling as a new teacher, as a new support person, as a new administrator, it is all real. Do not dismiss it. It's normal and it's okay. Find someone to connect with and talk through what you're experiencing, because actually we've all been there and there's someone here who can help.
Good advice. There's always that broad question about the beginning of the school year. What's new? And it seems to me for the first time in 4 or 5 years, there isn't that much that's new. We've gone through so much in the last few years from COVID, and then we had a hurricane hit and the laws changing. Am I right that this year there really isn't that much new, or am I wrong? What's new?
What's new? You know, it is not easily quantifiable because it really is a paradigm shift. It's it's in the way we think about how we do our work. So that is not something that is easily quantifiable that you can say we're doing this, and this. But that in effect is new. And that really is in the spirit of continuous improvement. Each of us must strive daily to be better than we were the day previously. Each of us must strive to be accountable for our work and be accountable to one another. So from that lens, you could think of it as being new. In terms of whole-scale changes across the curriculum with regards to supporting materials, we do not have widespread sweeping changes this year, and that allows us to really narrow the focus and become better at what we started last year and the year prior.
Let's talk about academics, maybe in particular a little bit about what's ahead in the year ahead, because the superintendent's been very transparent the last several months about how, as a district, we're losing pace to the state. And that's the trend he wants to reverse. So what kind of things are going to be in place that will help students succeed?
Well, first, I think as a district, and when I say district, I do not mean central office, I mean all of us. I mean everyone at the school level, everyone at a satellite location, those of us who are located centrally. First, we have to identify locally those pockets of excellence, and then we have to replicate them. And then we need to expand beyond our local control. What are other districts doing that are having success? And identify those, again, borrow them and or replicate them here. The intent is not for us to have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, but there are districts who are smaller than us and there are districts who are larger than us who are having success. We really need to engage in collaborative conversations. We really need to be open to learning. We really need to move beyond we know what to do and be curious about learning and learning from others. And that is one path we can take this school year.
We couldn't escape it last year. We'll go into this year again with the shortage of teachers, not enough for every position that's available. So what do you say to the families that may end up with a temporary teacher, not a full-time teacher in their class? And what's the strategy behind trying to make sure we're filling those roles through the school year?
Excellent question, sir. So you think of this in terms of a long-term and short-term perspective. And from a long-term lens, there are pathways that the state has provided for us to work through getting individuals certified, but that's a more longer-term solution. In the short term, we have a fabulous partnership with Kelly Services, and they've been able to provide personnel so that we do have an adult in the classroom with our students. But that is insufficient because I believe your question is what should parents expect. Mm-hmm. So from the lens of a school-based leader, what he or she would do is really invite that individual into the fold, no different than if he or she were a brand new teacher that's certified, right? You would take them through the same level of professional learning that you would for any new teacher. So he or she is equipped with the skills necessary to help our students succeed. Please don't misunderstand me. It is important for us to have certificated individuals. However, in the interim, we can still prepare our guest teachers so that they provide an education to our students that is palpable until we are in such a position where we have fully staffed, certificated schools.
And I think it's worth mentioning, recruitment's now 24/7, 365.
Yes, it is.
It's not something you just do in the spring and hire in the summer. Year round, you're looking at bringing in teachers.
That, too, is a different paradigm. We also have to think about maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the pool from which we drew was pretty full. That no longer is our current state. So we have to adjust our recruitment strategies. And It really is more than recruiting. It really more is about retention. And so thinking about what is it that we must do internally to keep the staff that we have. What are the areas of growth that they need that from their perspective they may not be getting, and as a result they may be leaving us? How do we reverse that trend? So first we have to capture the data, understand the trends, and then do something strategic about reversing those trends.
So I think during the school day while my son is in class that he's in probably the safest place he could be. School security is important to a lot of parents. So what do you say about school security going into this year?
I say that it continues, as it has been in the past, to be all of our responsibility, right? Whether you work in the school building or not, it is still your responsibility. It is all of our responsibility. That means that as a student, I need to be mindful of my words. Things that I may have been able to say a decade ago in school that may have been brushed off, we no longer have that option, because we do have to invest the time to determine if that statement has any validity. Does that statement pose a threat? And if so, what steps need to be taken? So again, it comes down to everyone's responsibility. That means that students, you engage with your peers, but you engage with the adults on campus as well. Parents, the same is true. You engage with school staff. And when we hear something that is concerning to us, that we report that to the appropriate personnel so they can take the next steps. Mm-hmm. And that is how and why we are all responsible for safety.
Where are we with bus drivers? That's always a topic of conversation. You know, we're good in the morning, 90% on time rate, but struggle some in the afternoon. Do you have an idea what it's going to be like for transportation this year?
So, Mr. Spicker, I think I'm a realist, and
we got to be honest.
and so I don't know that I have an answer. Here's what I can say to that, right? When you have a situation for which there are some challenges, as is the case in transportation, because obviously we have a shortage of drivers. And then when you take into account that we may have drivers who are out for any number of reasons, that further reduces the number of drivers that we have. However, the routes themselves haven't changed. And sometimes you have to make the best of the situation you have. So if you have to choose between getting students to school on time or getting students home on time, I think it's clear where the efforts will be placed. But please remember, those efforts are in part determined by the availability of drivers, right? This is not a challenge we face in Lee County. Similar to the teacher shortage, this is a shortage that we have nationwide. Mm-hmm. I'm fully aware that that does not answer your question. However, I cannot mislead you and say that we have this plan when, in fact, it's a daily work in progress for us as to what we can do different. One thing I do believe we can do, and our community would be supportive, is we can enhance our communication. When there are afternoon challenges, our parents should not have to guess. They should not have to hear from their children that the bus is running late or we have a substitute bus. So while we may not have an immediate answer for the shortage of drivers and changing the afternoon route, we most certainly can and should and must improve our communication.
We need to be honest up front. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to do our best. and we'll keep working on it.
Absolutely.
We don't want to, set the expectation too high, and everybody's disappointed in the end. Cell phones have been a topic I've been hearing about this summer, and the use of cell phones in school, or not using cell phones in school. The words in the policy haven't changed, but it does seem like there's going to be more enforcement of those policies this year. So what do you want to let parents know about their child's use of a cell phone at school?
I think what we should all keep in mind is that the board policies are there to govern us. And if you go back to the idea of continuous improvement, we are following through with that. So what that means is, in cases where there may not have been a strict adherence, it is entirely possible for parents to see school teams adhering to the policy, so there's a much closer alignment. And I do believe that that is where the discomfort is going to come, and that is where it could be perceived that you're doing something new, you're doing something different. And it may look a little different at different levels, meaning elementary, middle, and high. And while this should not be the case, it really also depends on the culture of that school and how leaders have been able to convey the importance of adhering to the policy. I'd like to tell you that we're perfect, but we're not. And so that is an area of growth for us. And so what parents can expect is that school leaders, school teams will be working diligently to be more closely aligned to the expectation of the board policy.
And there is going to be some meetings coming up for parents in the fall as well to talk about maybe potential changes to the policy. So that's their opportunity for input.
Certainly.
Those dates are going to be forthcoming. Last thing maybe to talk about is the academic transformation that took place over the summer. Because, Johnny in third grade may not feel it. It's going to have an impact on every student. Can you talk about this sort of new structure that's been put in place as we go into the school year?
So the new structure that Mr. Spicker is referencing is the way we align our work. So historically in our district, school teams have clustered in terms of levels, meaning elementary, middle, and high. And those clusters were supervised by an executive director. The shift is one from a horizontal model, to a more vertical approach where we now have 4 regions. And within that region, the regional area superintendent now is responsible for K-12 learning. So you have the vertical articulation that now exists within the region. So to make that something that's applicable to a non-educator, if my child started in kindergarten in the South region, it is conceivable that my child can go K through 12 in the South region because of vertical articulation, because of the high school options that are available in the South region that are of interest to my child. Mm-hmm. What it creates is an opportunity for us as educators and for parents to really have a long-lasting relationship with our school teams. So I understand from a school perspective, I understand a family's needs when they come in. And then I am better able to support those needs as a student matriculates K through 12. The structure itself also pulls in central resources because we really want this model to be one that is very supportive to our school teams. Historically, we've had to go to multiple locations for assistance when needed. And we are, in this structure, attempting to correct that way of thinking thinking to correct that paradigm, so that as a school leader, I have points of contacts, and those points of contact will work through certain challenges with me and help me elevate them as needed, so that I come to some form of resolution as quickly as possible, either for the needs of my students or for the needs of my staff, and in some cases for the needs of my community. Mm-hmm. So it really is a more inclusive and supportive model. It's going to take time for everyone to understand, but the benefits, when done well, far outweigh the disadvantages.
So the last thing I want to ask you about is just, what are you looking forward to the most? Here we are starting school, a new fresh year. What are you most excited about?
Oh my goodness. I would say genuinely seeing students come back to school excited to learn. We need to have that love of learning be something that is reignited for our students, because they're so curious. They're full of curiosity. And I want that curiosity to be sustainable throughout the year, right, as they engage in learning. So I'm excited about the possibilities. I'm excited about teachers who've been involved in the science of reading training through UF Lassinger Center, getting an opportunity to actually put what they've learned into practice. I'm excited about the brand new teacher who is just filled with excitement and cannot wait for day one of class. I'm excited for him or her to come in and to have that person go, yes, this is where I want to be. I'm excited for our parents who want to form and join our partnership, so that it's not them, it's not us separate, but it's the collective us working together, right? I truly am excited about what lies ahead for a transformational district, not just in the academic realm, but across all divisions in our district. We're poised to grow and excel. And to Mr. Spicker, for that, I'm excited.
I can tell. Possibilities are limitless.
Limitless.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Cupid-McCoy, for joining us, getting us ready for the beginning of this coming school year. We hope that everybody gets off to a great school year, a great start coming up on August 12th. Thanks for joining us, and we're back next month with another edition of the Lee Schools TV Podcast.